Parties Podcast, WATP.
What a week.
What a week, Bryan. No one saw this coming. So, as you know, I was promoting your appearance on Misery Loves Company. I talked about it on the show on Wednesday. I've been psyched about it. And I think I talked about it on the Creep Off on Wednesday. I mean, I've been talking like, you guys got to watch Misery Loves Company on Thursday. Bryan Johnson's going to be on there. And Bryan Johnson has an issue with Shuli. And I can't wait to find out what that is because I don't even know. And, well, let's break it down. Let's see what happened. So, Bryan, this is going to get a little weird because you're going to watch. Okay. We're going to watch you. Well, first we're going to watch Chad watching Misery Loves Company. Then we're going to watch you and
Chad. Than the Inception-like screams that happen eventually.
Yes, right now, exactly. Cardiff is watching us, watching Bryan, watching.
Yes, correct. This is going to get a little weird, but bear with me because we have much to discuss. So, all right. Starting off with this is where they're very beginning of Misery Loves Company. You can see that Kevin is like, all right, so what's going on here? I thought we were going to have Bryan on the show today. What's happening?
So, Bob, you got to tell everybody what's going on because I told him Bryan Johnson was here today, but I guess he can't do the show.
What?
No, you don't want him on.
Well, I didn't say I didn't want him on, but I'm not going to put up with somebody making up shit about somebody that isn't true and never met the guy. So send him a fucking link then.
No, but Shuli's there. Is Shuli sitting with you?
Here. No, he left.
Bryan Johnson.
Today.
Where'd he go?
Up to the house.
That's E-Rock's friend.
Pottstown.
He's friends with Kevin Smith.
Good job, Chad.
Shows off to
I don't even know what to do.
He's got it all figured out.
I mean, if the guy wants to come on and make up shit, let's hear it then.
Yeah, but he can't not like Shuli? I mean, okay, you guys are friends, but he can't.
Have him on is because he doesn't like Shuli.
It's falling apart.
He said he didn't like Shuli. He said he didn't like Shuli.
What's he bringing besides that? What's he bringing?
I don't know. He's on E-Rock's show.
Oh, wow. So that must be fucking huge.
All right. So Bob had sent a note to Kevin saying, should we have Bryan on? He wants to come on and talk shit about Shuli. I don't know that we should have him on. And what happened was Kevin called Bob back, and Bob didn't answer because he wanted to talk about it. Like, really? We can't have this guy on? Like, what's the issue? So then they decided to hash it out at the beginning of the show. And they're like, what's the deal? All the while, my buddy Bryan is watching this, and he's like, what the fuck? I thought I was going to come on the show today.
Waiting for my link.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Waiting for the missing link.
Yeah, where's the link coming? But I was just on the show on this past Tuesday on Misery Loves Company, and a similar thing happened to me. I mean, very different, obviously, where I didn't get the link at 4 o'clock, and I'm just watching the show, and I'm watching them like kind of figure out if they're going to have me on the show or not. They're like, oh, yeah, let's send Carl the link. I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I am getting a link. It's so weird. It's a weird way to treat guests. I guess Bryan wasn't having it. I was patient. I sat by and went, all right, oh, wait. That's fine. So this is them not understanding who you are, Bryan, which probably is part of what made you go, all right, well, then fuck these people.
I have no idea. When you have such a great job at Compound Media, bringing in the hundreds a month, I mean, what can he be upset about?
Addicted to profits.
I mean, are you being facetious, or you really want him to come on?
Have him come on.
I mean, it's not worth the headache, but like,
but you didn't hit me back. I just said.
I called you. I called you.
All right.
Communication breakdown.
Yeah. So unfortunately, they only know about you because you do a show, Would You Kindly, with Eric Nagel on Compound.
And that's a great thing when you're having somebody on to only know sort of casually about the person. Don't look him up. Don't hit Google to be like, oh, okay, maybe he does a little more than that.
Yeah, I know. It wouldn't hurt to Google your name before they do this. Because
seconds. It would have taken seconds.
You would have been
probably should have researched this.
You would have been a good get for them on this one. So Kevin thinks that Shuli's the one influencing the decision here because Shuli's been staying with Bob this whole week, leading up to Pottstown, their show tonight in Pottstown. So Kevin's just like, well, what do you mean? We can't have a guy on because he doesn't like Shuli? Did Shuli tell you not to do that? And then this is just kind of odd because my sister-in-law gets involved in this. She sends a super chat, and I was surprised that Chad said this.
and then being mad at somebody. If you're going to be an asshole, people are going to hate you.
I think Christina Marie.
Talking about me now?
No, I'm talking about other people.
I think this Christina Marie on his super chat is related to Carl from Rochester. I think she's married to Carl's brother. She sends me messages a lot.
And one
Very
time
odd.
they're going to come to my table.
It's very odd. Hit
Doesn't
like.
matter when it is.
Hit
Fucking who
like.
cares?
Yeah.
Brian Smith is in Kevin Smith films. He's not a bad guy. He's chill, says Christina Marie.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. But I'm just saying, for that point of the talk, I wanted to talk about why, you know, this guy's mad at Shuli for no reason.
Yeah, this is an ongoing thing. So a couple of things I want to point out from that clip. First of all, Chris, you messaged Chad a lot. I'll see her on Mother's Day tomorrow. I'll have to ask her about that one. What? I didn't know that you were BFFs with Chad Zumock. That's weird. But the other thing that Bob keeps saying is this guy is mad at Shuli for no reason. Shuli's a public figure.
And I'm not mad.
Right. There's literally thousands of hours of Shuli talking on the radio and on YouTube and on his podcast. Like, he's out there. There could be people who don't like him for a multitude of reasons. And Bob's going, this guy doesn't like Shuli for no reason at all. It's like, we didn't even have him on the show to explain himself.
And goes on to say that it's because I don't know him, which is the same logic that Shuli used. This guy doesn't even know me. To which I'm like, well, so do you have to know somebody personally to not like them? When we're like, Carl, I'm sure there's people that don't like you. I know there's a ton of motherfuckers who don't like me. I never met them personally.
Dude, you know why I hate?
So hold on. It goes more than that, though. It's not just about that. It's about these guys think that they are big time on the internet now.
Yeah.
And that they can just shit all over anybody because, fuck, I've never heard of them. Brian Johnson, who? Mr. Small Time over there. We don't need to get him on the show. Like, if they would have done, as you said, a little bit of research, but then what? It would have went a completely different direction, and they would have treated him a little more civilly because of his following. That even shows how they're bigger dicks.
Yeah, no, I think that's true, though. I think that if they had realized what Brian's up to, they would have been like, oh, great, let's have him on. Let's talk about it. And again, this wasn't Kevin's decision. This is all coming from my buddy Bob, and Bob and I are friends. But this was a bad move on his part to be even concerned that you would come on and talk shit about Shuli. Like, that's the best thing to do. Like, have him on, talk to him about it, debate him. I don't
Come back at me.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
That's interesting.
Right. It is. It's conflict. It's MLC.
Yeah.
That's what MLC is.
Right.
And to tell you the truth, like, I assumed that Shuli would be on. Like, I didn't think that I would just come on, rip into Shuli. Like, I assumed that they would have him on, so I was prepared for that.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And I just want to point out this idea that you have to know someone to dislike them. I hate Andrew Cuomo. I actively hate the former governor of this state.
I hate all other drivers.
I hate those people too.
Thousands and thousands of people I've never met.
Yeah, the Chinese, the Koreans. I know what you're talking about right now. I don't know them, but I hate them for a multitude of reasons.
There's that 1% Nazi.
All right, so I mentioned that Chad gets the W this week, and it wasn't anything that he did, which is the funny part about this. Like, everyone's just like, wow, Chad, you had a great episode. And I'll say this to Chad Zumock, and I know Gino's listening. Well, we'll see what he has to say about this, but I'll say this to Chad. Chad, you should make this episode public because he's already hidden it. In order to watch this episode that I'm showing you right now, you have to be on his Patreon or his YouTube member. Like, this is one of those shows where it's like, no, let people just find this organically, or if they're seeking it out, because this is a big W for you. But it literally happened.
Yeah, the W's for wandered into it.
Yes, correct. Because this is how it all went down. Our review girl, Mary Beth, decided to super chat Chad.
Mary Beth Johnson, $5. Brian is my husband. I'm begging you, DM him a link and he'll come on here. Mudshark for life. Mary Beth Johnson, is this true? Do you guys want me to go jack Kevin's guest?
I might have done that when I was
all right. This will be fun.
So literally, Chad had to be told, hey, Brian will come on your show if you want to have him, since they're talking shit about him on Misery Loves Company. So I'm pretty sure that, Brian, you probably initiated that.
Yeah, because, well, the way it happened was, I mean, should I go back to the beginning, or should we continue with this and then I can go to the beginning of my Shuli distaste?
Let's continue with this because we are going to get into the Shuli stuff in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. There's going to be...
yeah, I was just like, after they didn't send the link and they were arguing, and then I'll get to it later, but Bob said a few things that I was like, well, fuck these guys. And since I watched Chad at the same time I watched them, I was like, fuck it, I should go on Chad's show. Just sort of saying it, and then Mary Beth was like, you definitely should. Really, she was...
Oh, okay.
She was the impetus behind it. I don't know if I would have done it without her encouraging me.
It's a great move. Because you even said, I didn't pull this clip, you even said, you go, listen, E-Rock and Carl are going to be mad at me for doing this, but I wanted to come on your show. And trust me, I was shocked. I was watching this all go down in real time. I was texting you. I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
What the fuck are you doing?
I've been bamboozled.
It's insane.
E-Rock didn't think it was a good idea to go on MLC, and then he really didn't think it was a good idea to go on Chad.
Which is funny because as we're going to play, it turns out, and I'll play this right now. Turns out because E-Rock is one of the Kumia Cucks. You know, if you check out Chad's blockbuster show, Kumia's Cucks, I'm featured on there. Chrissy, of course, and Anthony. And E-Rock, for some reason, which none of us understood. I had E-Rock on the show, and he goes, I've never talked bad about Chad one time. I don't know why I got roped into this.
Right out of the gate. I'm good friends with E-Rock.
Okay.
So I'm not going to shit on E-Rock. I
honestly don't have a problem with E-Rock. We used to be pretty good friends. He just kind of piled on me one day with Kumia, and I was like, all right. So I don't have a problem with E-Rock. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm also a Carl Cuck. I'm really into WATP, WATS,
WATP
kind of shit. Yeah, I'm into all that stuff.
Okay,
so, like,
say it, don't swear it, Chad.
To your show, I'm kind of crossing into enemy territory, but I think it's important that that you have a voice as well. That these two guys just don't run roughshod over you nonstop like they have been.
So that was odd because immediately he's like, oh, I like E-Rock. Wait, what? What do you mean? How is that possible? Chad will very quickly do a 180 when faced with somebody.
Yeah, he might hurt himself one of these days.
So I thought that was odd. And I don't know if E-Rock has responded to that to you.
Brian showed up on the stream, and it's like, oh, the wind's blowing the other way now.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, Chad's like, hey, is Carl have anyone booked for this weekend? Because I'm free on Saturday.
Everything's coming up Zumock.
So fucking funny.
Dude, I'm wearing exactly the same outfit I was wearing that day.
I know. It's so fucking weird.
It looks no different. My hair's the same. Everything.
Yeah. You didn't even trim your beard for this one.
No.
All right. This is kind of like outside of everything else that I'm getting to, but I just want to bring it up because it's very, very funny. So the big controversy that was going on in MLC this day is that Chad was caught super chatting himself. He's this guy named Eddie Baker.
Oh my God. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah. So this is now again, we're watching Chad's stream, but he's watching MLC and they're discussing this.
It got real slow with super chats and Chad's show at one point. And then he goes, and then he wasn't talking, then he was on his phone. And then all of a sudden Eddie Baker sent him $10. And the Eddie Baker super chat was, "Come on, super chats, let's step it up, super chats."
Oh my God!
So he basically wanted to let everybody. He basically was like pretending it was Eddie Baker, and like Eddie Baker was rallying the troops, but it was really Chad rallying the troops as Eddie Baker. So and that's of course Chad would do that.
Oh, I'm Eddie Baker?
Of course he would do that. Eddie Baker. Hi, Eddie Baker.
That's hysterical. Because I mean, Kevin brings up a really good point right there. Nobody super chats. Come on, super chatters.
Yeah.
Let's start giving this guy more money. No one's ever super chatted that in the history of super chats. Who cares? So I thought that was a pretty funny observation on their part. All right. Let's get into it now because this is where Bryan really starts to go off. And your plan, if I'm not mistaken, that's why I have you on here today, so that you can correct me if I'm wrong about any of this stuff, but this is my interpretation. Your plan was to go on and explain your issue with Shuli. You were not going to go on there and blast Bob Levy or Kevin or any of this. But because Bob Levy's like, I don't want to have this guy on, that kind of opened up the floodgates. And you start taking some shots here that are pretty crazy.
The guy's a fucking chain-smoking cadaver who says nothing, who sits by and lets Shuli fucking talk his dumb shit. And that's what I was coming on to MLC today for. I want Shuli to retire.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm calling for Shuli's retirement. They're dragging Bob out. When I used to do Comic-Cons, I saw Stan a lot, Stan Lee.
Yeah, the great Stan Lee, Spider-Man.
Yeah, towards the end, Stan's in a wheelchair. Stan looks like a wax figure getting pictures taken with him, like he wasn't even there. And I feel that's the way it's turning with Bob Levy. He's just there. He looks like a wax figure.
Wow. This sure did backfire on Bob. I bet he wishes he would have just not said anything and just had you on the show at this point, because this is not good.
No, well, after we finish this, I'll tell you why I started going after Bob so hard.
Okay. Good. Another teaser. I like that.
Yeah.
So then at this point, Bryan goes on to explain to Chad that he's not just E-Rock's co-host, that he's been in Kevin Smith movies. He made his own movie. He was on Howard Stern promoting it. He started to tell him Steve Dave. That's turned into an A&E show called Comic Book Men. He makes 10 times as much as the Shuli Network on his Patreon. Like, he's going through all of this stuff. It's just like, what? Whoa, what? Holy shit. So Chad's all of a sudden realizing that he's got like an actual celebrity that he's talking to, which I noticed he got nervous. That's the thing about Chad. Like, he started shaking. He's like, oh. This is pretty exciting. This guy likes me? Why? So then you go after the Shuli Network. And I do want to talk about this with you.
I think, well, first off, the whole Shuli Network thing is like, first it's the Shuli Network, and then when people call him on it, it's a joke.
Right.
And if that's humor, I don't get it. I don't understand the joke. Like, where's the joke in naming a network after yourself and then telling people you're just kidding around? And Carl from WATP is very kind to Uncle Rico. Like a couple weeks ago or a week ago when he was on the show, he was talking about how, Uncle Rico does it the best because they got 3 comedians, which I couldn't disagree with more. I think they have 0 comedians on that show.
Wow.
Ouch. Yeah. Mike Morris, give me a break.
Shots fired.
He has Mike Morris has a website teaching other people how to be funny.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know much about Mike. I don't know much about.
Nobody does, because nobody fucking cares to go look into him. He's a nobody. He's literally nobody. He was on the Stern show 20 years ago. I was on the Stern show.
Really?
I never talk about it, ever.
Yeah. Mike Morris, that clip has it all, by the way, Bryan. I just wanted to commend you on that clip because Mike Morris is a fucking hack. And I didn't even realize he teaches people how to be funny. Yikes.
Yeah, Blind Mike did a breakdown of the website. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I know. I finally was made aware of that this week, and I was like, oh, he's one of these guys. Anyone who teaches comedy classes, it didn't work out for them. That's not what successful people do.
Right.
They don't go, oh, okay, well, now that I'm Dave Chappelle, I guess I can teach other people how to craft a joke. No, that's not what you do at all when you're actually good at what you do. All right. So
you know how many comedy classes Bill Burr and Chappelle and Chris Rock teach?
Yeah,
probably 0.
Exactly 0. And honestly, they probably teach more people comedy than any comedy teacher does.
Right.
Because that's how you learn comedy, by observing how to craft a joke and how that whole thing works. It's
that like thing's funny?
Yeah, it's not someone explaining it to you. This is how you craft a joke. Yeah, no, I know. I get it. All right. So then we talk about me. And, Chad wants to know what my deal is.
So you don't like Shuli. So what's Carl's problem with me? Why is he like dogging me so bad? Like I don't. It's weird.
I don't know.
To me.
I don't really talk. Like when I talk to Carl, it's never about like you or Shuli or any of these guys. It's mostly about WATP stuff. I don't know. I guess I think like. I understand like the Kumia thing, the punch in the eye, all that. Like I understand you were trying to get something going.
Yeah.
I appreciated it. I thought it was funny. And the thing that I mean, I guess like, look, Carl brought your rap sheet on. Admittedly, you can't sit there and be like, well, I'm a fucking model citizen. And I think like, maybe people hold that against you.
Three of those things were wrong though in that sheet. The 18. There's a couple of them. I was like,
there were like 30 pages.
Yeah. They got the dates wrong.
I know. He was complaining that I got a date wrong, and then I actually pulled up the document that I downloaded from the internet and showed that it says 93, but it might have been 03. Okay, yeah, he might be right about that. Right. And I explained it live on the show while it was happening. But how funny is that? We went through dozens of things that Chad did. He goes, he got 2 or 3 of them wrong. Okay.
That wasn't aggravated.
So here's my thing with you, Bryan, is I totally disagree with what you said, that him making up that story about Kumia's fans jumping him was like something that he actually had calculated that was going to make the show more interesting. Like he was just lying. He was trying to get away with a lie, and it didn't work because Melton called him on it. So I don't know if you're just trying to get in his good graces there. Like, what was your thought behind that?
My thought, and I thought I also said it, was that, and then he said that you guys spoke afterwards, was he when he came on the show and he was like, oh no, I like John. John's a good guy. Follows me on Twitter, all that shit. I said, you kind of fucked up his show. You fucked up the flow of the show.
Yeah, I do have that clip.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Yeah. I think that's probably more accurate.
I'm just saying to give Chad credit for the made up getting jumped by Kumia fans lie is insane, because he was literally just trying to get away with that lie. It wasn't this grand scheme. He's like, oh, I'm going to come up with the story, and then we'll get all these people watching Misery Loves Company. It's like, no, you were trying to steal a catalytic converter, and some metal got in your eyeball, and you made it.
I know you love that theory.
Yeah, but if no one ever called him out,
I like it too.
Yeah,
it would have just gone away.
Correct.
Yeah,
it's only because of Patrick Melton that he had to make up a second lie about ordering chicken tacos at a food truck and then calling some guy's girlfriend ugly and getting beat up, which is the crazier story. I mean, neither of them are believable. That one was like bonkers.
Yeah. Hey, aren't you a comedian?
Unbelievable, but like it makes me enjoy Chad for Chad.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of guys out there that do this kind of shit.
Good point.
I like his antics. He's
Good point.
And I saw people on Twitter, they're like, don't go near Chad. He's toxic. He's shit. He's all this. He's all that. I'm like, I feel like I went on his show for 20, 25 minutes. I didn't give him my social security number. I didn't tell him where we hide the spare key to our house.
You're not moving into his place.
I didn't tell him anything.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Plus, he already knows.
He's already got your social security.
And to tell you the truth, as far as I know, Chad's never said a negative thing about me. It didn't appear he even knew who the fuck I was.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, I don't really have anything personal against Chad, and I like the underdog. I like watching him get Brendan pissed. It's so amusing.
All right. Speaking of amusing, I thought this was a very funny thing that you said.
Yeah, I really don't like. I can sit here and say I have a kid. She's 17 years old. She has Down syndrome. She is objectively funnier, has better comic timing, and makes more in super chats when she live streams than the Uncle Rico show.
Wow, that's rough.
She has a lot of people who love her. Yeah, and that's a kid that's not working with a full deck, and she's still able to overcome that and out funny those fucking ass clowns.
Somebody's gonna clip this, and people might see it. Are you cool with that?
I'm totally fine with it.
Yep. Someone might.
That's good that Chad's going to explain how the internet works.
Yeah. Like, wait a second. This isn't just a FaceTime?
I thought it was between you and me. We're just having a conversation here about my daughter. I didn't realize. So, but let me ask you this, though, Bryan. Does your daughter let people know that what she does is funny? Because that's what Uncle Rico does. They put it in the tagline.
She constantly tells them, she's like, look, guys, I have Down syndrome and I'm funny, every chance she gets, in case they fucking forgot, because she hasn't been reminding them for 17 years, or 20 years like Uncle Rico has. That's what I call Shuli now, because he's Uncle Rico.
Talk about paying your dues. I mean, Down syndrome is up there, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, there are no higher dues.
All right, so now let's get into it. Let's find out what Bryan's beef is.
Sounds like that's like the layaway of paying your dues. That just keeps going on.
Yes, correct. The interest just keeps racking up on it. It's brutal.
It's like it's the Rent-A-Center of paying your dues.
The Rent-A-Center. I have the TV, but it's costing me way more than it should. All right, here's this is Bryan breaking down his beef with Shuli Egar.
He drove John off the internet with his nonstop assaults on him. Is what I believe anyway. And I feel like John would still be around. Carl did like little segments. John fought back. It was fun. But then Shuli goes on with this arrogance and this smugness. Like he's done something more than John. It's like if you look at their post-Stern trajectory, John has done far more than Shuli. Shuli's down there in Alabama trying to eke out a living from super chats and selling crystals for his fucking wife.
Wow. I honestly, I didn't know you had it in you, Bryan. Holy shit. And I thought it was like, whoa, this is getting nuts right now. I mean, Bryan's so mild-mannered and just like a, laid-back guy.
I hope I'm always on your good side, Bryan.
Yeah. Holy shit.
No, you have no worries, Chris.
Thank God.
Thank God. So, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that at all, or if that was the point.
Well, you mean in general, everything?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Sure. We're here now. Let's go.
Well, here's the way it happened. I never liked Shuli back in the Stern days. I never thought he was funny.
I'll say this. I'm sorry to interrupt you right away, but I will say this, and I mean this. It's not because Shuli and I are friends now. I always liked Shuli. And I know that he had a thing with Artie
too. Yeah, sure.
I know he had a thing with Artie when Artie called him the Hack Pack, and he got very offended by that, and there was a whole blow up, and a lot of people didn't like Shuli after that whole thing happened. But I always thought Shuli was a good contributor to the Howard Stern show. Anyway, go ahead.
Now let's talk shit.
No, you say your piece.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have a lot of awareness of Shuli because I stopped listening to Stern. I don't even know when he left. Once Stern turned pussified, I was like, I'm out. I'm done with this dickhead.
Totally.
So it was only when he sort of was coming around with you when he was on your show and Uncle Rico and that kind of thing. And, I like the John bashing. So I was like, I'll give Uncle Rico a try. I watched it. I thought it sucked. I did not like I think they have no chemistry. I think that they were fucking biting off you way too hard.
Yeah, but Mike Morris puts on those gloves. It's so funny. He puts on those gloves.
Yeah, he put his roach on the microphone.
Oh gosh, I mean, hilarity.
Hey-o.
Ensues.
Yeah, side splitting. Side splitting is the term, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
So I would take, like when you were on MLC, I would take like passive aggressive pot shots at Shuli through like super chats and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not the kind of person who goes on Reddit and posts about him. I don't I'll read Shuli's Anonymous, but I never post. I don't add anything. And one time, 2 weeks ago, I was on Would You Kindly with E-Rock. And I believe it was Eric Zane was on too. And I was talking about Shuli, and E-Rock was talking about Kevin and Bob. And E-Rock said, "Do you want me to get Shuli on?" I said, "Sure, if you want to."
Yeah.
And he texted him. Shuli didn't want to come on because I didn't know him and he didn't know me. And then he said I was a cunt and he didn't want to come on. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Whatever.
How did he arrive at the conclusion that you were a cunt?
Yeah.
Through a very hysterical joke that he sent to E-Rock. He said, "Look, I'm no doctor, but he has all the symptoms of being a cunt." Yeah.
No. Pause for laughter. That's good. Nope. Okay. Everyone done laughing?
Please
okay.
clap.
Yeah.
Please clap.
I think I have that.
Please clap.
All right, go ahead.
So I was like, okay, he doesn't want to come on. That's fine. Then after that was when I sent the super chat, and that's when Kevin Brennan noticed that I didn't like Shuli. And he's like, "Hey, if you want to come on and talk shit about Shuli, you're welcome." I didn't message Brennan. Brennan messaged me.
Yes.
And he said, "Hey, do you want to come on and talk shit about Shuli?" And I was like, "Sure, that would be fun." Again, assuming that Bob would be aware and Shuli would probably be on there to combat me. And I thought it could have been kind of fun.
Right.
The day came and I waited for the link. The link never came. I saw them arguing about it. And then Shuli would have been spared because I would have never gone on Chad if Bob hadn't opened his fucking big mouth. And as soon as the fucking dust came out and he started talking and saying shit like, you know, I'm a nobody, you know, this asshole's coming on to just talk shit about Shuli. Why are we doing this? Now, if Bob didn't want me on because he's friends with Shuli and he just didn't want some guy he didn't know come on and talking shit about him, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Like, that's understandable. On my show, if somebody was like, hey, I want to come on and talk shit about Sal, I would be like, why? No. Like, I wouldn't want it either.
Right.
But it was only after Bob started fucking mouthing off and talking about, like, these are guys who have shit on me and E-Rock nonstop for maybe years now.
Correct.
The worst show on the internet, the terrible show, this, that.
My
E-Rock's
first interaction
fat, E-Rock's lazy.
My first interaction with Kevin Brennan was back and forth on Twitter. This is going back a year or two, where he's like, why won't you review Would You Kindly? That's the worst show on the internet, and you're a fraud if you don't review Would You Kindly. And as you know, and I've stated this many times, the people who say I have to do Steel Toe or I have to do Would You Kindly, like, those people would not be satisfied with it anyway. So why would I do that? Why would I take my marching orders for people who don't like me and just want to use me to go after their enemies?
They have an agenda.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Like, I'd be really dumb to do that. But that was my first. So yeah, he's been railing on you for a long time, I guess is my point.
For a long time. And he's mentioned it in, you know, just recently where he's like, oh, he said this guy can take some good-natured ribbing. Now, how good-natured the ribbing was, I'm not sure, but he's right. I can take it. And I was willing to. I enjoy Kevin Brennan.
Me too.
I enjoy MLC.
He's
like,
funny.
that's the reason I watch it. Yeah, I really like it a lot. But then when Bob started saying all that shit, and he's like, you know, he's just trying to get heat off us. And like, I look at Bob Levy, and the last thing I would try to do is get heat off of him. He looks like his core body temperature is about 70 degrees or so. Like, he looks like a dead person. You know, he sits there, he barely says anything, he just fucking smokes, and he does it 6 times a fucking day or however many podcasts they have.
Yeah.
The whole time blathering on about how he's brilliant, how everything he says is gold, and all this other shit. And I'm like, they are not recognizing the signs of pre-senile dementia. Like, this is a man in need of help.
Well, I don't know about that. I am a Bob Levy fan.
I know you are.
And it's funny because like you wouldn't have said any of these things. They just would have had you on MLC like you were scheduled to be. Like, they're just going to have you on. And like you said on Chad's show, you're like, and if they didn't like what I said, they could kick me off at any time. They do it. They did it to Cardiff. They do it all the time.
They do it to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, if Bob hadn't opened his mouth, I would have just sat there and watched MLC and not been on it.
Right.
Like, I didn't have a burning passion to talk about Shuli. I didn't ask to come on MLC. I've never got asked to go on any show and talk shit about Shuli.
Right.
But I find him so fundamentally unfunny and boring that it almost seems irrational when I think about it. But then with a cooler when cooler senses prevail, I'm like, no, he does suck. All right. He is terrible.
Now I'm going to send Bryan a message to see if he wants a link to watch me and my co-host figure out who he is.
And then yesterday, I don't know if you caught yesterday's, but man, they were really going at it.
They were reeling.
Mad at each other.
Well, they were reeling, and Kevin was pissed at Bob because he knows that he dropped the ball by not having you on the show, and he was upset, and maybe he's mad at himself a little bit too. I don't know, but he seemed to be upset that they didn't have you on, and that it turned into a big giant W for Chad. That was a bad move.
Yeah, they sent me a link yesterday to see if I wanted to come on. And,
interesting.
Yeah,
you should have.
5:30. Yeah. Well, I was getting ready for my live stream that I do at the wife and kid, and so plus on top of it, I was like, well, what am I like? Why would I go on now after I've already said my piece? After everybody, like, honestly, I cannot believe this many people are interested in my opinion of Shuli. It's like,
well, after perusing shocked. IMDb, Bryan, we'd like to invite you back onto our show.
You were on the Howard Stern show. Well, yes, of course you can come on MLC then. That's fine.
Yeah, why not?
Who are these podcasts? WAT.